1 year ago, I uploaded a video brainstormed in only a few days, written in a matter of roughly 50 minutes, and edited all while I was at Panera Bread, eating lunch with my sister. That being Hank, the most over-the-top hybrid ever made. And if I would have known how well that video would have done, then my god, I would have made it 8 minutes. So much money was lost. But really, I uploaded that video as a quick, easy Halloween video, without much thought put into it. But that one simple video caused an entire new section of dinosaur YouTube to open up, acting as the big bang of the genre. Now, to those who somehow don't know, I'll catch you up. For a few months beforehand, I'd been making dinosaur hybrid YouTube shorts, even getting Dangerfield to voice one. And soon after, from sheer coincidence, Goji Center, the largest Godzilla channel here on YouTube, uploaded a video making their own dinosaur, the Indom 2.0. Seeing an opportunity to make funny fake Halloween beef, I made Hank as a fun personal project. But little did I know, that video would open a Pandora's box full of Pandora's boxes. After my funny attempt to take down the Indom 2.0, everyone and their grandma suddenly wanted to make their own hybrid to take down Hank and the Indom alike, creating what you all know as the hybrid war. While the Indom was the gun, Hank is the one that's shot. Now that it's been an entire year, many hybrids have been made to try and become the best of the best. People finding ways to make their hybrid powerful, but unhankable, in the sense that it won't kill itself from existing. Now, over the past year, many big-name hybrids have stepped up to take the title as the best hybrid to take down the Indom 2.0. Names you all know like Maddie, Samson, Hank 2.0, and as many of you, my own fans, have debated, Reiner, my sweet summer child. Now, while many have tried, time and time again, Goji Center finds a way to convince the public that the Indom 2.0 still wins. A slippery little hybrid she is. But today, after a year of the cyber war, I am finally putting the nail in the coffin. We are finally taking down the Indom 2.0. Today, we are pushing evolution to its limits. Even saying this is a 3.0 is an understatement. This is the most destructive dinosaur of all time. A dino that I promise once this video is over, will show how it can literally blow up the Indom with a single blow. Physics will crunch under his strength. Biology will bend at his will. And reality as a whole will be stretched to allow such a creature to exist. Now, what is this, you may ask? What could I have possibly done to create such a demon among dinosaurs? Well, it's a simple gene pool, really. Spinosaurus, Giganotosaurus, Indominus Rex, along with what she brings, Scorpius Rex, Chameleon, Dunkleosteus, Pistol Shrimp, and the Tardigrade. To those who have kept up with my channel, the genome sounds familiar, because it is. As they said there is no need to upgrade the Indom, I agree with that sentiment. Today, I'm here to show off the Indom's killer once more. In today's video, I present to you why Hank still wins. So, yes, I know. This sounds like an absolutely batshit wild thing to say. As many of you know, Goji Center was happy to make a response video to Hank due to his popularity. And after that video, I have yet to hear the end of it. Each time I make a hybrid, the comments all say, hopefully it won't Hank itself. Their response, while funny, motivated me. I want to show that Hank, despite his flaws, despite Goji Center not listening to the video at all, and throwing him into a real world, and even with the nerf of the century they gave him, I'm here to show that the Indom's castle is built on sand. A fragile facade, withholding information from hybrid makers so they don't know how to combat her. An effective but lackluster genome, lacking any flashiness. Tengen would be ashamed. While they might have an amazing research team, flawless models, and editing I could only dream of, Goji Center still doesn't realize who they're up against. As you will come to learn, Mr. Center, I am a very stubborn 19-year-old. So, after a year, I'll play by your rules. Let's rip Hank out of fiction, despite me blatantly saying that that is where he's meant to be held. Let's use your real-world science. Let's give him every nerf in the book, and give the Indom her lollipop and bib. Even with all of that, I am happy to explain to you all, and Goji Center, sitting behind your screens, I can see you, on how Hank still wins. Now, firstly, we need to understand a few things. Firstly, Hank was made for fiction, so it's no wonder he failed in realism. He was made before the rules were set in stone. So that everybody's still thinking he was failed from the get-go, I challenge you. Go back into the comment section of the original Hank video and scroll back to before Goji Center made the response, and as you'll see, it's all praise. Goji Center, seeing they were backed into a corner, had to warp the arena around them, paying off the ref and telling the audience to look away. Next thing you know, kaboom, Hank is dead. Now, I don't want to waste your time much longer, as I know you all want to hear how he still wins, as, trust me, he has many means of doing so. But firstly, there are two things that should be mentioned. Firstly, Goji Center, you can't just add rules. Hank was spawned, that's it. No growing up. So the argument that he blasts his arm off at a young age is like me giving headcanon to the Indom, as that is exactly what you're doing to Hank. He spawned in with one goal in mind, to kill the Indom 2.0 at any cost. So let that be known. Poof, he's real. And poof, he's face to face with the Indom. No headcanon here. But secondly, as you took my word, I'll take yours. The second point I'd like to bring up is the law. As you yourself, Goji Center, showed me just how Hank could win, I would like to draw your attention to the second line of the USA's Miranda warning. That being, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. And well, Mr. Center, court is in order. So without any more yap, let's begin, shall we? Starting with his one-taps. Now, as Goji Center said, assuming he could hit with the forces I gave Hank, he would blow his own arms off. And as we see, they run with this line of thinking the rest of their video. So, what you and I are seeing right there is that Hank can and will hit with that level of force I gave him. Or as the weird measurement I gave, imagine a tugboat ramming into it a few hundred miles an hour. So, from what we have seen, Hank has 2 shots to land upon the Indom 2.0, and if either are to hit her, Indom would pop like a balloon, coating the battlefield in a fine red mist. But there is also, of course, his jaw. Now, while not as flashy as his arms, his jaw is still a one-tap on its own. If Hank were to land a bite upon the Indom's body, his jaw would shred through whatever opposes it, chomping out a giant chunk of the Indom's side, in the process, biting into vital organs, depending on where he bites. We are looking at intestines being ripped out, lungs being crushed, or nerves in the spine being severed, paralyzing the Indom 2.0. And they are just your one-taps, but trust me, there are plenty more to go. The next one's making the one-tap seem merciful. So already, Hank has 3 shots, 3 opportunities to land a fatal blow. So if any of those 3 land, it's already wrapped for the Indom 2.0. But let's go further. Firstly, what if he misses? Well, I'm glad you asked. Firstly, Hank wouldn't just punch the air full force if it wasn't close to hitting the Indom. So if and when he does miss his blow, he would then be within inches of the Indom. And trust me, this is where the fun begins. Hank, as you said, would blow his arm off. But, Mr. Center, I do believe there's a reason you didn't cover this in depth. As you see, Hank is a pretty hefty dinosaur. His reach from shoulder to claw spans just about 10 feet. And you know what that means? 10 feet of bone. You say yourself that Hank's arms would explode, but ignore what that implies. Now wherever Hank has punched, that area in front and around it will be turned into a fatal zone. As now, a dinosaur's arm worth of bone is being blasted out like a grenade. Pieces as small as a few millimeters to as giant as foot-long chunks, with flesh still attached, blast out into the air at hundreds of miles an hour. But oh, trust me, it gets worse. Let's assume just the bone hits the Indom. Well now, let's say Hank aimed towards her side for an example. Well, now the Indom 2.0 has hundreds of tiny holes punched into her body, blood gushing out of each one. And due to the area of effect, the Indom can't just cut off the blood flow, as claimed thanks to the croc, as she would be cutting off a giant portion of her body. And that itself begs the question if the Indom could cut off such a large portion of her blood flow in the first place. So she can either attempt to cut off the blood flow to reserve what blood she has left, but then shut down nearly half of her body, or withstand the blow and hope she can heal quick enough. But let's add on to this attack even more. What we covered was just the bone, but there is much more to Hank than just that, my friends. If you recall, Hank has a super toxin, where if it hits you, it will begin to congeal his foe's blood. So now not only is bone shrapnel flying towards the Indom, but any small piece of bone that still has some flesh attached will now be carrying his toxin. And as it breaks into the Indom's body, it's likely the flesh and bone be ripped apart. Now not only does the Indom have hundreds of tiny pieces of bone stuck inside of her, causing her to bleed out, but now there's hundreds of new areas of her body where the blood begins to congeal. She'll be bleeding out and stiffening due to her blood at the same time. So even if Hank misses, this attack would cause so much bleeding and pain to the Indom, it's likely she would pass out from shock. And keep in mind, this is all from one punch. But trust me, it gets worse. Let's say one arm of bone doesn't do it. Well, Hank still has a second shot with his other arm, but now it gets even worse. On to what I said earlier, anything you say can and will be used against you. And as you see here, Goji Center went ahead and did the work for me, showing off how Hank would look after the blow. Now, keep in mind, Hank is driven solely on killing the Indom. He doesn't care for his own injuries. So with both arms missing, assuming the Indom is still alive, well, what's in store next? Well, what if I told you he can do that same attack 2 more times? I mean, take a look for yourself. Goji Center themselves show that Hank still has a good amount of his arm left, meaning he can still dish out this insane blow 2 more times. I think I've already made my point clear. Hank wins in the most over-the-top way possible. Even when his arm is gone, he's still flashy, just like my goat Tengen Uzui. Best Hashira, by the way. And that's why I am so happy to show off the Demon Slayer Buzzmod Tengen Uzui figure, sent out by today's spooky sponsor, Beast of the East Collectibles. Now, like the Sound Hashira himself, I'll make sure this is quick, so don't worry. Firstly, Beast of the East prides themselves on getting your figures to you even faster than Zenitsu's Thunderclap and Flash. And along with their crazy speed is also their unbeatable prices. Now, I will go ahead and use my transparent world here to show you how unbeatable Beast is when it comes to price. Here is Amazon with the same figure, $135, Big Bad, $160, heck, even the official Amniplex store, $110. But let's take a look at Beast, and like Yurichi himself, unbeatable, at only $105. Not to mention, if you use my code GOJIGUY5 at checkout, you can save an additional 5%, now only making it $99. Not to mention, of course, the figure itself, at an even higher quality than the Nichiren blades made in the Swordsmith Village, with a wide range of articulation, real metal swords, along with an unimaginable amount of accessories, from extra faces, hands, to smoke effects, a kneeling mat, his back swords, and ribbons. This is truly a one-and-done figure, and it poses great with any other figures you already have. So if you're looking for some awesome figures for as cheap as possible, especially with Christmas only a couple weeks away now, then check out Beast of the East Collectibles. They'll be the first link down below, and make sure sure to use my code GojiGuy5 at checkout to save even more. And with that being said, let's put our boar head back on and get back to the battle. Now, Goji Center, I can already hear your response. Hank would bleed out. And well, that's where you're wrong, my friend. You see, unlike the Indom, where if she were to cut off the blood flow to her wounds, she'd be cutting off blood flow to, well, her whole body in general, making it that area will become weak and useless. Hank's area is already gone, those being his arms. So he has no issue with stopping the blood flow from going there, as there are no more arms to care for in the first place. Well, how can he do this, you may be asking? Well, you gave me the idea, Mr. Center. Come on, keep up. You enlightened me, along with the general public, that the dwarf croc can cut off circulation to certain parts of his body, making it so if the Indom were injured, she could keep herself from bleeding out. But the thing is, you withheld one piece of info that many haven't realized. That trait you boast about isn't unique to dwarf crocs. In fact, all crocodilians can do that. And to those who didn't realize, Hank shares some crocodilian DNA, thanks to the now extinct Deinosuchus, meaning Hank could likely block the blood from going to his open wounds. But now for the final attack method Hank has, this one being the bloodiest, most violent, and cruelest yet. So, if you have a sensitive stomach, click off. Now, when making Hank, we wanted to make sure that every contributor, minus the tardigrade, was visible in his design, and one that me and my artist debated was the pistol shrimp. Originally, Hank had the antennae of a shrimp hanging off of his face, but two things came up. Firstly, those would be an easy part to rip off his body, but secondly, there was an additional weapon I knew we could take from the shrimp. Shrimps, along with prawns, have a part of their head called the rostrum. Technically, even beaks are rostrums. But what is it? Well, essentially, it's a term used for a hard, pointed structure on the head of an animal. So instead of the antennials, Hank inherited the rostrum aspect, which on a giant like himself, acts more like a warrior's spear than an animal's simple spike. So sure, the Indom might wield what she can find, but Hank was born with that sharpened pole that the Indom so desperately needs. Now, there is an issue. He can really only peck with his head currently, as his lower jaw does get in the way. But as Goji Center was so happy to show off, Hank is still very much alive when blowing his lower jaw off, which now leaves Hank with a spear head. So assuming Hank is nerfed by realism, assuming he misses both 2 shots with both of his arms, assuming the Indom survives poison bone shrapnel hitting her, assuming she survives the second wave of bone shrapnel, assuming she doesn't bleed out, assuming his jaw misses and snaps off on its own, assuming all of that, all Hank has left is a spear for a head. And knowing he will die regardless, Hank will go berserk, ramming his head over and over into the Indom, ramming through her skin and bone, goring her to a point where even a Reiner wouldn't want to go against him. So sure, the Indom doesn't blow herself up, but at the end of the day, I think I've made it clear. Between turning her to mist, solidifying her blood, goring, or causing her to bleed out from her injuries, Hank still wins. I could have debunked the Indom, yes, but I wanted to make it flashy. Simply saying Hank wins because the Indom couldn't exist is lame. We want to send a message, mailing the Indom's head, or whatever is left of her, back to Goji Center. After a full year of the hybrid war reigning on, it's time to go back to the basics. You might have realism, and a team with some of the smartest people I have ever met. But there is one thing you lack, Mr. Center, and it's insanity. The drive to keep pushing forward even when the odds are against you. So, in true Halloween fashion, Hank's gift keeps on giving. Blood for the beasts, and frights for Goji Center. And as always, everybody, keep trick-or-treating. Goji Guy, out. See ya.